Bring it out. First we go. Cut 'em up, cut 'em up, cut 'em up. There we go. Build 'em up, build 'em up. Yeah, there we go. Break 'em down, break 'em down, break 'em down. There we go. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. Cut 'em up, cut 'em up, cut 'em up. There we go.
Hey, shalom, 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 people. We are out here in Stratford. Topic today from Cuts from the Streets is New Year's. We're out here to try and find out what our people have in understanding of the New Year, the origins of New Year, and what does the Bible say about the New Year. Soldier?
Also, something we're going to be here to find out is why do we celebrate the New Year's on the 1st of January? What is the purpose of that? What are the origins of that? We want to see if people actually know.
Right, indeed.
And we're going to bring out a hidden mystery that's within the names of the months of today. Because when we look into these names, okay, it gives us a hint of when the New Year's actually begin. Like September, siete, which reference 7. When we're dealing with October, octagon, 8. November, nove, 9. December, decimal, decade, 10. Okay, so when we're looking into the names of the months of today, it also gives us a reference of when the New Year's actually begins.
So all praise to the Most High. Cuts from the streets. Cuts, cuts, cuts.
Right, shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Right now we're in Stratford and I am with
Naomi.
I'm with Naomi. Now, of course, today's topic is New Year's. Naomi, do you celebrate New Year's Day?
Yeah.
You do. So just give us a little breakdown. What do you do on New Year's Day? How do you celebrate it?
Family just come round and yeah.
Big countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. So you do celebrate New Year's. I guess a question that I have for you is, why do you celebrate New Year's?
'Cause it's a new year.
Is it?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Right, that's what we're going to find out today.
What's your name, sis?
Denise.
Sister Denise. So what do you think about New Year's generally? What is New Year's? What are the origins of New Year's and the customs of New Year's?
Oh, wow. I think New Year's sort of is a celebration, a new birth of the new year, the coming year. I think it follows just after Christmas, and I think it might be a pagan, the history of it might be a pagan holiday or celebration. In the Roman times, I believe it emerged from, I think so.
So we're here in Stratford and we're dealing with the topic of New Year's. So I'm here today with
Dean.
Dean. So Dean, do you celebrate New Year's?
Try to, yeah, if I can.
And what kind of things do you do? What do you and your family, your friends do to celebrate New Year's?
Depends if people aren't sort of with their families or not. Like if my friends are like knocking about, then we tend to go out to a club or like some kind of event or something just to celebrate the new year coming in.
Okay. Do you lot even do the countdown as well and watch the fireworks maybe?
If I'm with my mates, we tend not to do the countdown because usually you're in the club and like, you know, people a little bit too far gone by that point. But yeah, it's usually quite good to sort of like count it down, get all excited for it and stuff. So.
And I've got with me Emmanuel. So now we're out here in Stratford, Emmanuel, where we're talking about New Year's Day. Yep. So it's New Year's Day a day that you celebrate?
Yeah. I celebrate New Year's Day, yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know, I just feel like it's a way to embrace the new year, new challenges, and bring on success with the new year as well.
Okay, perfect. So with you celebrating New Year's and things like that, what specific things are there that we do as a custom, or you do specifically New Year's that you do for celebrations?
Oh, basically on New Year's Day, me and my whole family just go to church and stay overnight until like the countdown and that, and then basically stay there until like 8 in the morning, and then we come home, and then that's basically it. Prayers, everything. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's cool then. So obviously you go to church, so that means you know a little bit about the Bible, what it says about New Year's and things like that. A question that I have for you though is, do you know like the origins of New Year's, like where it comes from and stuff like that?
No, I'm not really familiar with the origins of New Year's. Not really.
So, do you celebrate New Year's Day?
Well, personally, I really don't give. It doesn't mean much to me, but I'm not against celebrating New Year's.
Right, so it sort of just comes in and it goes. You don't do the whole fireworks and stuff like that. Is there any reason for that, or literally just you're not that bothered about it?
No, so I just think it's just a regular day, right? It's just crossing from one day to another day. Doesn't matter that the calendar resets on that day. It just happens to reset on that day. There's no difference between crossing from today till tomorrow and crossing from the 31st to the 1st. It's just normal.
Right, okay. Because generally, a lot of people do celebrate it. And, a lot of people do regard it as the new year. Where do you think sort of society as a whole gets that idea from?
So I cannot tell where society gets the idea from, but I think where we stand today, it's just a norm. It's something that's been, would I say, culturally passed down, or it's just been the norm for maybe many years now, and people just continue to carry it on as a tradition to celebrate New Year's Day on the first day of the calendar year. So,
what is New Year's to you?
It's just another year, isn't it? It's just another year, same life. I'm a Muslim, so I don't really celebrate New Year's. So it's just like 2020. Just get on with yourself. Just be religious. Just work. Just be yourself, innit?
So, like you said, you don't celebrate New Year's, right? Is there a particular reason why? Because like in today's society, people think that the New Year's start in January. Now, what do you think about that? Is that true, or?
I can't really speak as a religious basis, but because I'm still practicing on that. But New Year's starts in basically it does start in January. That's all I can say really.
So New Year's, what do you know about New Year's, sis?
Well, I was brought up in a Christian home and I celebrate New Year, just the normal. We make maybe pledges what we're going to do to be a better person. And resolution, and I go to church and ring in the New Year. That's my normal thing. Even being a young girl, we used to be in parties, we leave parties and let the New Year catch us in church. To us, it's something that will do us good because the New Year actually catch you in church.
That's interesting. So now, the New Year itself, is this something that is biblical? Because you talk about, church. So presumably you are someone who goes to church, who believe in the Bible, right?
Yes, I am a Christian, a practicing Christian.
Now, is this something that is biblical in terms of celebration of New Year and in terms of the actual period itself that is celebrated? Is it biblical that to celebrate New Year in January?
No, not for our faith. We just go to church and it's good. I wouldn't say it's a religion thing. I would say it's an individual thing that New Year catch you in church instead of doing something which is not right. Young people parties, that's okay, but we go to church. And even as I said, being a young person, we used to leave party, go to church. Then after the New Year comes in, then we go back to party. So maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't even know where it arises from, but it's just something I know.
So, as far as you are aware, January 1st is the New Year's. Where did you get that understanding from?
The calendar.
The calendar? Yeah? What if I told you that the calendar has been changed and January the 1st is not really the start of the new year?
Okay.
Marva, do you celebrate the New Year's?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So why is that?
Just spend a lot of money for one day of the year. It's just another day. It's just a new year, but it's just another day.
Okay, so she doesn't celebrate New Year because she just considers it as a new day. A lot of people like to spend money and waste money on that day. She says she's not partaking in any of that. So because when we examine different cultures For example, like the Chinese, they do a Chinese New Year differently from over here in the UK. So specifically, when do you consider to be the New Year?
I don't. I just go by the calendar. They, according to the laws in this country, New Year's Day is January the 1st.
Right. And do you know any history on why did the calendar today show as January the 1st being the New Year's?
That's because that's what they want it to be. I don't really believe that January the 1st is the New Year per se, but according to the Gregorian calendar and the way the English, the Americans and the European made it, they made it the 1st of January.
Right. I mean, that's quite interesting that you mentioned there straight away. You said you think it might be a pagan holiday. Yeah. All right. Okay, so what makes you think it's a pagan holiday? Where did you get that from? I mean, obviously you celebrate New Year or you celebrate New Year, but even with that fact, that you sort of know it may be a pagan thing, but you still celebrate it. Why do you have a change of mind in terms of what the origin of it is? Can you give me more on that, please?
Why do I celebrate it?
Why do you celebrate it?
Even though I know it's a pagan.
Right.
Wow, yeah. I think because everybody's been done generations and you're just following the trend, the status quo, it's just one thing after another. And even the Christmas is a pagan ritual.
That's a great answer. That's good. Ooh, that's good.
Because Jesus wasn't born on December, I think it was April or so, they said. If my history reminds me, sometime in April, I think he was born. And so, so really he wasn't born on Christmas Day, but it's a Roman pagan holiday, and it's a lot of ritual and debauchery and things in the Roman days and back in the day, I think, and it's just been passed on, and it's just been passed on, and same with the New Year as well. It's all pagan, I'm afraid, but we still do it.
Right. So that's quite interesting that you mentioned that. You know, you're quite right. You know, New Year is not of God. It's a pagan holiday, and the Most High, because we go according to the Bible. Do you believe in the Bible, by the way?
Yes, I do. I do. But then the Bible as well, lots of books were taken out from the Bible as well, so which doesn't sort of help, but it is what it is. We got quite a few books that were taken off, like the Book of Mary, the Book of Mary Magdalene, and a few other books, because I did check my history. I love history.
Right.
Definitely changed it. I know that, but I don't know when the actual year begins. I think it's maybe round about what we would call spring, so right, April, May.
It's nice that you said that, because that's 100% correct.
Something you said was very interesting. You said it's been a tradition that has been passed down, and that is exactly the case. Now, do you believe in the Bible at all?
Yeah, I do, definitely. Yeah.
Do you know, according to the Bible, when the new year actually begins?
No, I don't.
Would you like us to show you?
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Right, let's get that. So we're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy first, chapter 16 and verse 1. Let's read that.
Okay. Deuteronomy 16:1. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God, for the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
So the Bible is saying observe the month of Abib. So to keep the month of Abib, because in that month, that's when the Lord brought you out from Egypt in the Passover, right? So let's get that. What you got? Exodus 12? Let's read that.
Exodus 12:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year unto you.
Right. So this month in Exodus 12 is the beginning of months. Let's jump to verse 11.
Verse 11. And thus you shall eat it with your loins girded, with your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hands, and ye shall eat in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
You hear that? In the first month, we celebrated Passover. But remember, in Deuteronomy 16 verse 1, it said the first month is the month of Abib.
Yeah, it does say that it will be the first month unto you. But right. This is what I think, right? Personally, from my own perspective, the month of Habib is already been in existence before this pronouncement, right? So it means, this is what, just personally thinking, right, it means that this wasn't it wasn't this word that instituted, or would I say constituted, I don't know what the word is now, the month of Abib, or the months of the year. So it actually, for me, what I see from there is, before this pronouncement, the year has been divided into months. But here it's now telling you that for you from today, this will be the first month of the year unto you, right? And so I think that's like a specific commandment to, that should be the people of Israel, I believe. Like, my Bible knowledge is not very, right? So I think so, but I think, and that's a significant, that's a, what's the word now? It's to signify something, which is, I think, the Passover. Something happened at the Passover, and I'm telling you, or as God is telling the people and saying that because this significant thing happened on this month of the year, or during this month of the year, this is what I have done. I want you to commemorate this month of the year, and for you from now henceforth, this will be the first month of the year.
Bible dictionary, so it gives you explanations on where certain months are and what certain terms are. And this is what it says about Abib. Yeah, so listen to this, Emmanuel.
This is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, page 13. Abib, an ear of corn, the pre-exilic name for the first month of the year.
So, ear of corn, meaning when crops grow. Do you understand? So that's what Abib is, when crops grow. So currently, I want you to look around. Do you see crops growing, trees growing, everything nourishing at this time? Not really. So keep reading. So it will actually say when it falls down to. Read.
After the exile, the name was changed to Nisan. It fell about the time of our March and early April.
So that's when Abib is. So that's when the first month of the year is. But currently, obviously, we celebrate everything on January the 1st, which is at the dead of winter. When celebrating New Year's should be at the springtime, when everything comes up. Do you understand?
So when do you celebrate the New Year's?
Usually go out somewhere on the 31st. This year we're going to somewhere on the 1st, so 31st might be a little bit tame. Yeah, that crossing over from the 31st to January, like that sort of new start, that's tends when we sort of celebrate it.
So between the 31st and the 1st of January. Yeah. Right, so why in particular do you celebrate it? Or do you know any origin or history behind it being celebrated on the 31st and the 1st of January?
I'm not too sure about the history, apart from sort of like the calendar year and stuff. But I suppose it's that sort of new hope. If you're sort of like tired, it's kind of like that sort of fictitious sort of idea of a new start, new beginnings, sort of like saying goodbye to all the sort of bad parts of the last year and sort of being excited for the new start.
And the aspect of new beginnings, new goals, do you know where that comes from? Or why? Because if you have something that you want to change with yourself, you can do it at any time during the year. But why do people wait until that particular day, the 1st of January, to say, oh, now it's a new year, new me, new goals? Why do you think, or do you know anything around why that is the case?
It's probably, the more you think about it, the more you say, it's probably more to do with like industries such as like hospitality and stuff, like pubs, clubs, all that sort of stuff, making it like a big event. There's no reason why you can't just say in February, for example, right, I'm going to start again. It's I suppose, like, as a society, we tend to be kind of like sheep and kind of like follow the flock. So yeah, I guess it's just an excuse to just have a party, really.
All right, so now we're going to delve into the scriptures to try and show, because you mentioned something there that you're not quite sure where it actually came from, the whole idea. We're going to delve into the scriptures and also some historical books to give us more clarity on that. So I need the reader, please. So get me Colossians 2, verse 8 to start with, because you said yourself that, you're not quite sure where it came from, if it, who came up with the idea, why people celebrate it. But as far as you know, it catches you when you're at the church and you sort of join in with it. Yes. All right? Okay.
I see my grandparents do, so we just follow on.
Understood. So get me Colossians 2, verse 8, please.
Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
So now we're being warned that man should not guide us into these, what is lies, philosophies. Vain deceit means lies, right? So there will be things that men can, if we're not careful, they can lead us into doing that. If we're not careful, can be something that is against God, right? That's what we're reading so far, right? All right, read that.
After the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
So there will be traditions that men do that will be after the rudiments of the world, traditions of men, not after Christ, right? So now, we're going to try and prove to you that New Year's, the way they celebrate it, is not how God said we should do it. All right? So now get me the book of Exodus, chapter 12, start from verse 1. All right, sis? We're going to find out the true origin of New Year, when New Year actually truly is. All right? According to God.
The book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months.
So now, this is what we're trying to find out. The beginning of months, right? Okay, read.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
The first month of the year. So henceforth, new year, right? Yep. Okay, so now jump down to verse 26.
Verse 26. And it shall...
Same Exodus 12.
Yeah, Exodus chapter 12 and verse 26. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover.
It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover. So now the beginning of the first month of the whole year, of the new year, is around Passover time. All right, so now, Passover, we're going to try and find out what the first month of the year is. Deuteronomy 16 verse 1. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 1. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God.
So the month of Abib, when you look into the Bible dictionary, it tells you that the month of Abib falls between March and April time, which is springtime, my sister. So it's not the dead of winter, which is what? December, January. It's actually March, April. What do you think about that? Is the beginning of the year being March, April time, which is springtime?
Well, this is new to me, and I would really have to take it up with some senior members in my church.
Wake up, baby. Time to explain.
Why don't you play us something, baby?
This is the Compact Bible Dictionary, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, and we're going to read about Abib. Abib, an ear of corn, the pre-exilic name for the first month of the year. After the exile, the name was changed to Nisan. It fell about the time of our March and early April.
It fell about the time of around March, early April, says. Remember, God said Abib is the first month of the year.
Yes, I hear you read that, but oh my God! You see, this is the Bible, and I don't want to use the word confusing, but it is translated in so many different ways by different religion. And what I do not to confuse myself, I just stick to what I know. If you get what I'm saying.
Well, you said, remember we read Colossians 2 and 8.
I heard it, yes, and it's something that is in my brain now.
So if it's not in the Bible, what is it then, according to Colossians 2 and 8? Traditions of?
Men.
Right. Now, we got some books, some history here on the New Year's, on why it actually begins at January the 1st and what it represents. What do you mind if we actually read a bit of it? Okay, let's get that in page 21. So what's the title of this book?
So this book's called The Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays by Elisha J. Israel. And we're going to go to page...
Let's read verse 21 first. So go back one page and let's start here. And then we're going to jump down to that.
Oh, well, page 20. On the modern Gregorian calendar, January 1st is celebrated as the initial day of the new year.
So the calendar that we follow today is the Gregorian calendar. Okay, read.
Because the vast majority of the world has adopted the Gregorian calendar, New Year's Day is considered the only global public holiday. Around the world, this celebration is commemorated by shooting fireworks and rounds of ammunition into the midnight sky.
So on the 31st, when it goes midnight, that's when the fireworks pop off. And they said this holiday is worldwide, right? So jump down to this paragraph right here.
Paragraph 4. The month January was named in honor of Janus, the god of new beginnings.
So when we get January from the god Janus. So that's where the word actually January comes from, his name Janus. Read.
The god of new beginnings, gates and doors.
So that's where we get that New Year's revolutions aspect from, because he was the god of new beginnings, gateways and doorways. Go ahead.
In early Rome, prior to the use of statues to represent their gods, the Romans worshipped Janus as a doorway. This is similar to how Vesta was considered naught else but living fire. Representations of Janus had two faces, one looking forward to the future and the other gazing backwards into the past.
So that's that same aspect of new year. So you examine the year before, and you looking forward to a new year, the things that you're going to change from your prior year. That's why he's depicted with two faces, one facing forward. If you do your research in your own time and you look up the god Janus, he's depicted with two faces, one facing forward and one facing backwards. That's what it represents, the new year that we're going into and the old year that you was coming out of. Read.
To Caesar, it was appropriate for the new year to begin to be in this month because it would be the doorway to the new year. In honor of Janus, Romans engaged in banqueting and licentious sexual activities.
So that's exactly what was done when they changed the new year to be January the 1st, and that's what's done today, right? What's your thoughts on that?
The Janus part, obviously I'm going to sort of pop that one off and tell people because that's really interesting. It's weird, like so many things are sort of like based on like sort of like pagan sort of like how they just change things. I know like Thursday, for example, is named after Thor, like another pagan god. So it's just mad how many sort of like pagan things like Christian faith and sort of like adopted and sort of like we sort of follow now and we're not even aware of it. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Right, and then like you mentioned about the days of the week, what they're named of. Even when you look in the days, the months, a lot of the names of the months were named after other gods, as we just read about Janus, one of them. And some of the months, the names of them gives us an idea that the people that ordained these names had an idea or understanding when the new year actually began before they changed it to January the 1st. For example, when we look at the month September, today is considered what month?
The 9th, well, September, the 9th month, yeah.
The 9th month. And so then October's the 10th, November's the 11th, December's the 12th. But now when we look at the names of these months, September, siete, that's Spanish. What does siete mean? Do you know? Seven. So when we look at October, octagon.
8 and then,
So November is
December 10.
So November's going to be 9, December's going to be 10. So January would be what?
You'd think it'd be either 13 or 1.
So remember, if December is 10, January is going to be what?
11.
So then February is going to be what?
12.
So March is going to be what?
13.
No, because remember there's 12 months in the year.
Sorry,
1. So by these names, it's giving you an idea of when the new year actually began and that they actually pushed it back.
Now, if you take a look around really quickly, does everything look new to you?
No.
Right, but if we were in sort of springtime, late March, early April, would it look new? Would it look like things are growing?
Yeah.
So doesn't it make sense that would be the start of the year?
Yeah.
Right, so we're just going to give you some quick examples to show you. If you think about the month September, right? What month is September? Let's count. So we go January.
The number? Yeah. It's 9.
Number 9, right? What does the term sept mean?
7.
So wait a second. September is the 9th month, but it's sept means 7. If you think about October, right? What does oct mean? How many legs does an octopus have?
8,
What about November? What does that mean?
9,
What about December? Decade.
10.
Right. So, guess what? September is actually the 7th month. October is the 8th month. November is the 9th month. December is the 10th month, which means January is what?
The 2nd.
If December is the 10th month, what month out of the year is January?
11.
11. So that means February is
12.
and March is what?
1.
Right. And we just read that in the Bible. That the end of March is the beginning of the year.
September 7.
November 9, December 10, January 11, February 12, March, April, May. 1, 2, 3.
Right. So March is going to be number 1. So that's just alone by the names of the month. They're giving you a hint where the year actually begins.
In honor of Janus, the god of new beginnings, doorways, right? They put January the 1st, Janus's month, as the start of the year. That's why we celebrate it today. But if you even look into the names of the months today, it actually reveals the true start of the year, because September, for example, in the Gregorian calendar, the calendar we celebrate, September is what month? The 9th.
Yeah, the 9th.
The 9th month, exactly. But what does the term sept mean?
It's 8, right? Sept is 8 or 9. Oct is 8, right?
Right.
Oct is 8.
Right, oct is 8. So sept means 7. Yeah. So September is really the 7th month. October is really
probably the 8th.
So November is?
Yeah, non is 9, yeah.
December, decade is?
10.
So that would make January what?
Maybe the 11th.
11th, exactly. So February is what?
The 12th.
The 12th. So then March would be?
It could be the 13th if there were 13th month.
There's still 12 months, but March would be?
Probably the 1st.
The 1st. And remember, the Bible lines up with that. The history book lines up with that. The Zondervan lines up with that. Even nature lines up with that. And the name of the months lines up with that. So when do you think really the new year is?
So this is it for me, right? This is interesting, and yeah, I'm tempted to say it's March because I mean, from everything that you have laid out, it points to being March. But this is what I also think, right? I think that I think there's nothing that's cast in stone, right? And you remember I told you that I really do not fancy the celebration of New Year because it really doesn't mean anything to me. And the reason I said that is because if the Gregorian calendar that we currently adhere to or the world has adopted, if it was 14 months, for example, right? Which there was no reason why it couldn't have been 14 months. I don't know why it was 12 months, but anything could have made it 14 months. Anything could have made it 15 months, 20 months, right? Right. Anything could have made it 20 months, 30 months. We probably wouldn't have the 1st of January as the new year. 1st of January probably is not going to be now. It's going to be whenever, right? So I just think these things are just a way to calibrate time. And I don't really pay too much attention to meanings behind all of it. I just feel like it's just a way to calibrate time, and we should see it as such and just like move on from there, right?
Definition of the new year coming to January. Where did that come from? You said it's pagan. All right. Okay. So now, when you think about the month itself, right? You think about you got October, for example. Yeah, which is what, 8? The month before that, September, that is 7. When you think about, the Latin meaning behind that, the prefixes behind it. And then you have November, which is the 9th month, when you think about it. And then also December is the 10th month, right? So even in the month name itself, that the Romans, if you want to call them that, around 46 BC when they made the changes to the calendar year, when they made that changes, they still left us clues as to the actual, real, true meanings of the month. So December should be the 10th month, but yet December is the 12th month from what it is they're giving us. So now when December is the 10th month and you count up, so now what would be January then? When you know that December is the 10th month, what would be January if December is the 10th month, sis?
12th month? No, 13?
10.
10. 9. Counting up. 10, 11.
Right, so now February will be?
14th. 2nd.
No. Try again.
Counting forward. So.
Counting up.
Counting up. So
you said December is the 10th?
Yes. And January it will be the first month. No, 10th, 11th, sorry.
And then February will be?
And then February 13th or the 1st.
Let's try that again. All right. So December is the 10th month. Yeah. If we were to bring January in after December, because January comes after December, right? So January will be what month if December is the 10th month?
10, 11, 12. 12. Won't it be the 12th?
10. The next number after 10 is?
11.
Right. And the next number after 11?
12.
Right. So February will be the 12th month, right? So now what will make March now?
13th.
If there are 12 months in a year, what will make March?
Okay. The 1st, won't it?
Right. Exactly. So that will be the first month of the year, right?
So when we're dealing with the biblical sense, the Bible's telling us that the month of Abib is the first month, which fell in today's month names as between March and April. And that adds up to the names of the actual month when we're dealing with December being the 10th, January being the 11th, and February being the 12th. March would have been the 1st.
So the question that I have for you now is, do you think this year, January 31st, you're going to celebrate the New Year's coming into January the 1st?
Yeah,
Why is that, if you know it's not the New Year's?
because it is. It is. It's a new year. Like, you go from January to December, and then back to January. It's a new year.
But we just read that the start of the New Year is in March.
Yeah, but the new year, if you're going from 2019 to 2020, that's the new year. Like, it's a whole new year. It's not another month thing. Like, once you go into 2020, it's another month. It's past the new year. Do you get me?
So I want to show you that the Bible prophesied that there'll be changes in a few of the dates and the times that we currently know in this generation. Yeah, read.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
You see that? And think to change times and laws. So that's what's happened. Times and laws have changed. Because now we're in the Gregorian calendar, not the calendar that the Bible says. And clearly, the names of the months are different. We talk about Dec is 10, but we're celebrating the 12th.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
So the Bible is saying that, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, right?
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
So there will be a group of people called the saints that he will wear out, all right? Read.
And think to change times.
And think to change what?
Times.
Change what?
Times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
So there will come a time when everything would come back right way up again. But for now, everything is upside down. All right? So you ask the question, who is the he? All right? What is the powers that be? What do you think about that?
Frightening. Because we've been misled, really, and we're not reading the true. It's been hidden, concealed, and we're not getting the full picture, really. And we need to know the full picture. I've always said that I like to read the same Bible the Pope is reading, because apparently he's got all the full.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I suppose it makes sense when you look at like the seasons and stuff. Like, you know, it's like springtime, March, April time, when, you know, you got that lambs, the flowers are coming out. It kind of makes more sense to have the start of the year at that time.
Right. That's a key. That's a nice point that you brought up, because when we look around, look at the trees. Things are dead. There's nothing new about that. But when we look at, like he broke down, when we look in spring, that's when things start to grow. That's when things become new again. So it makes more sense of the New Year's actually being during that time period, during the spring season, not the dead of winter.
It's mad, you don't really think about it. You just sort of like follow along. It's really interesting. Like, obviously I'm glad I stopped by and like heard it. I'm gonna like blow people's mind to tell everyone that I see now. Yeah, it's really like, it seems really silly when you like sort of like listen to this and sort of think about it. Makes zero sense that you would have like these long nights and sort of like barely, like it's probably going to get dark in a bit as well, so it's not really the best time for new beginnings and stuff. So I guess it just fits into like the modern day calendar at the moment. So yeah, it's interesting, really.
So we're going to go into a very, very important truth that's been revealed in this book about New Year's, how it used to be celebrated before, what the true meaning behind it before was, and how that's now been changed. Okay? So now read from this line, in addition.
This is page XV. Right. In addition, the New Year in Britain began on March 25th.
The New Year in Britain. In Britain here that we live in, sis, began March 25th. Read.
The Feast of the Annunciation, rather than January the 1st, for all British documents, including the dispatches of ambassadors abroad, I have kept the Julian or old style of dating, except that I have made the new year begin on January 1st.
Right. Can you see the change there? So they've changed what was the previous, according to the scripture, the beginning of the year, March, April time that we read in the month Abib, to now January the 1st. Now this book here says what? A note on dating and quotations from manuscripts, according to manuscripts. All right, so now there's been a change of that. And the Bible even warns us of that there will come a time when times will be changed.
All that being said, Emmanuel, what do you think? What do you think about New Year's Day now?
It should be celebrated on March, April, as that's the actual calendar that's gone by the Bible, but we've changed it. So we're celebrating the Gregorian calendar to bring in the New Year as like the two
faces of Janus.
To bring on New Year and so on New Me.
Yeah, perfect. So you got the whole thing, so you can obviously tell your parents about what you've seen. So that's it, Israel. Most and Christ bless. That's Cuts from the Streets.
All right, Shalom Israel, Most and Christ bless. Yeah, what here? We just wrapped up Cuts from the Streets, New Year's edition, part 2. Okay, so we dealt with a few people out here. Based upon the interviews that I done, had a guy that was really amazed, on the information that we was bringing out to him, showing him that the New Year's actually begins during the spring season and not the dead of winter. Okay, and and really speaking to him, he started to realize that a lot of the things that we follow today have pagan origins, and Christianity has really adopted a lot of pagan traditions and brought it into things that we follow today. So that's one of the kind of responses that we got back today.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it is definitely something very new to people. They've been raised up January the 1st every year. And something you noticed, we would get to like October's the 9th, no, October's the 8th, November's the 9th, December's the 10th. What's January? They'll say 1 again. It shows how ingrained it really is, and it's gonna take some time to really start changing our minds to the truth of when the new year actually is.
Yeah, and even going on top of that, what you tend to see is some people actually understand that based on the seasons that we're in, that the months don't really correlate, because we're now in the dead of winter, but then we're celebrating a new year in the winter. But when everything comes fresh, and grows back when it comes to springtime, around March, April time, like it says, observe the month Adar. That's the time that's the time we're supposed to celebrate the new year. So now, with all those things that we see around, some of our people don't really understand. Everyone in the community don't understand that they have to look at the seasons to see that the Most High has already set everything in order. It's just us. We've changed. We are the way that we're living has been changed, and that's why there's an issue going on when it comes to people figuring out what the new year is.
Right, and based on what you said, let's get Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. Because this is why the mindset of us changed, because we've been taught different. Okay, there's been a particular people that have changed or have fought to change the time of the new year. Okay, from when it actually begins during the spring season to the dead of winter. Read.
Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
The saints of the Most High are the Israelites. Read. And we were weared out during slavery.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto him into his hand unto a time and times and the dividing of time.
So the times that they fought to change was when the year begins. From when? The spring season to the dead of winter. Okay, so through you understanding that the month actually begins when? During March and April, according to the Bible, according to history. Start to research on that, okay? And that was Cuts from the Streets, New Year's Editions, Part 2. Shalom.
We used to scream Black Power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road. Purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.